Hey everyone, today we're going to do a repair video on my Alesis Strike Pro snare. I've owned this kit since around 2018, and when I bought it, it was less than half the price of a comparable Roland kit with similar sized pads. I knew going into it that eventually I'd probably have to repair or replace parts of it, and today is one of those days. The main issue I've been having is missed triggers. For example, I'll hit the drum about 10 times and then it might only trigger 6 of those hits. My floor tom was doing the exact same thing a couple of weeks ago, and with a friend's help we managed to fix that by replacing the piezos. Today it's the snare drum's turn. Alright, here are all the parts you'd need for the job. First of all, you've got piezos. I imported these cheap in from China. My drums use 27mm piezos, so just make sure you find out the piezos that match. Most of them should be 27mm, but you might occasionally find a 22mm or even a much bigger one than that. From there, we've got a soldering iron, we've got heat shrink, we've got the cooling sponge for the soldering iron, plus the flux, 2 sets of pliers, cable stripper, heat shrink gun, super glue, and screwdrivers to mount the, you use the screwdrivers to sort of hold the piezo in place once you've glued, waiting for the glue to settle. So that's an Alesis Strike drum. This is the 14-inch pad where we've already gone and replaced the piezos. We've got a brand new one sitting here, and we've joined the cable. There's actually another piezo sitting underneath there, but just for ease of access, we've glued it onto here, and then we've merged the wires from the old piezo to the new piezo and tucked them underneath here. This is what we've already done, but we're going to film a new one in real time to give you an idea of how this process is done. This is so you can repair your drums. This is the old drum before we've gone and replaced anything. Now what I have done is I've grabbed a screwdriver and I've taken this old piezo off here, which is starting to muck out. When you played the snare drum, if you hit it 10 times, you'd probably hear a hit registering maybe 8 times and then 2 dead zones. So we figure it's time to go and replace these piezos. So I've got my friend Fiddy here who's going to help me out because I suck at soldering. So here we go.
Soldering. For you Americans out there. I don't know why you refer to it as soldering, but anyway, that's how it goes. Yeah. So like Mitch said, we have 2 piezos here which have been removed. One of them is actually one's been removed. The other one is hiding under here, which is the original placement of it. But for the sake of ease of use, we will just cut this cable and join to that and slap that right on the top, as you saw in the other drum, the finished drum. And Mitch has had enough time to test this out, so we know that it works and that there's no dead spots. It's sort of performing as it was. So it's an effective method. So in terms of tools for this, you're going to need, I've got a pair of pliers here. I often use side cutters as well. We've got some wire strippers. These are usually for slightly more heavy duty wires. So I may either use these or the pliers to strip. But I'm quite used to using the pliers to strip. You can get other wire strippers that are kind of more like, shaped kind of like a bird or something that are for finer wires. I don't have any of those with me right now, so we're going to make do with these. Other things are a sponge, which you wet, and this is to help with the soldering iron, which is the other item we need. I'm going to use just like a handheld battery-powered Milwaukee one because I quite like it, and it heats up really well, and it doesn't have a wire attached to it, which I find easy. The sponge is for actually sort of wiping the solder off the tip here and keeping that kind of clean. For those of you who don't know how to solder, this is how I was taught. I wouldn't say I'm the best solderer in the world, but this is how I was taught. I've done essentially worked in the audiovisual industry and had some training on how to solder. So that's what I've been taught. Some flux as well, which is floating around somewhere. We'll get that in a second. A bit of heat shrink as well, just because we're going to join these cables. And we, in some cases, there's different methods of joining a cable. You can use little like plastic connectors. Not the, I mean, you can use the screw type. I would hesitate against using the screw type, like the chocolate block type, because this is sitting around in like a moving drum, right? So I wouldn't want any screws to kind of like, like a resonant chamber. So I wouldn't want any screws to rattle out or anything like that. So we tend towards like more solid connections. You can also use these other little like crimp links where you can strip back the wires and crimp them together and clamp down. That requires an additional tool. It also requires those crimp links. I have some of those in my kit, but I'm not going to bother with that. I think like for this method, we're just going to solder the wires together. That should be solid enough. Put some heat shrink over it to protect them from shorting out, and we should be good to go with that. The other thing we could have done, which we did do on the other one, is actually solder straight onto the board there. I don't know if you can see that. There is, which requires removing the silicone or the glue, the hot glue they've put over the top, and cleaning up the solder that's on there a little bit and soldering back into those holes. It's slightly more difficult to do with the solder melted on there. And you can use something like where is it? Oh, yes. Something like this, which is a goot wick, which you can place on the solder, heat it up, and it will suck it up and kind of remove it. Alternatively, you could use like a solder sucker pen. Those do exist as well. We're just going to go, like we said, we're just going to join the wires just for the sake of ease here and simplicity. The other thing, solder? Yeah. Oh, so this is not really on I think this is 80-20 stuff. I'm not quite sure what the thing is or what the gauge is, but it's relatively thick. It's enough that some of the thinner stuff I find hard to really to place on terminals or to place on cables, so I kind of like this gauge just to kind of, it runs really well, heats up really well. And the last thing we have is just some really cheap super glue, which we picked up last time, to glue these back into place here. We've probably got a lot more cable here than we actually need, but I'm just going to cut these back. Yeah, I'm actually just going to use that to strip, and that's going to be fine. I'm kind of used to... Actually, let's do this. I'll take this part off. Let me do this with the strippers as well, just so you can get an idea of what that's like. These ones can be tensioned by this little wheel here, which will sort of allow, depending on the size of the cable, you can kind of set the pressure. These are usually for like the cables that you find in your wall, your house wiring. Just ease that onto there. You'll find that we get a nice break of the sheath there. So I'm just going to continue using the pliers, just because that's what I'm used to. Just give this a little bit of a twist up. Used to, yeah, see, too much. Used to kind of doing this, usually with different...
You'll be used to working on more industrial
size cables, just bigger size cable, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So
it is better to use strippers with this, but I'm confident in the ability to gauge how much pressure I need to apply, that I can work with the different size cables, and some, like I said before, like you saw. Now the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to do what's known as tinning, and that's basically prepping these cables to be soldered. So we're going to turn our soldering iron on. We're going to let this heat up, and this won't take long to heat up at all. It's a real kind of finicky exercise. What you can use is, I'm going to get Mitch to hold the cables now with just upright like this, just for the tinning process. Yeah. So that's ready. I'm gonna, as you hear, I'm just gonna kind of like clean this a little bit with the sponge. Don't really recommend holding it in your hand, but that's what I do. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit onto this. And then how you kind of do this is you get the better heat transfer if you use the length of the soldering iron. So like, rather than going like this, I mean, sometimes you have to do that, but like this way, it'll really heat up.
You're trying to get as much surface area as possible.
Yeah, so it's all about surface area. And if we, probably could have done this without the solder on there, but it's not a very good example there. So let me get that solder off there. a little bit of solder on the tip sort of helps conduct, and yeah, rather than just having a dry tip. But the idea is to heat up the copper, and then kind of enough that this solder just run down. Yeah, and then you sort of follow it down. Here we go. Here, I mean, that's not. Probably get a little bit more because we're going to be. It's not amazing, but it's. Yeah, you can see it's sort of. You heat it up and then you kind of follow the solder down and it kind of runs down. And that just creates, like that's effectively soldered that into like a rigid form now, which will make it a lot easier to join together. Because when you have two surfaces that have solder on them, and you heat those together and that solder kind of melds together, it just creates an easier join than trying to do this with two, dry and then add solder to it. So we'll do this, thanks so much, we'll do this with the other one. Wipe the tip there.
Always keep your tip clean.
Got to keep the tip clean. Always wipe the tip.
Always wipe the tip.
Let that heat up for a moment. Oops. Yeah, I mean these won't take long to heat up at all because it's obviously very, very thin copper. You can see there's a bit of there. Let's kind of work it straight down. Cool, we'll do that for the other cables as well. Also clearly not a freaking surgeon. Cool. That's those. The other thing, did I say heat shrink? Oh yeah, heat shrink, a little bit of heat shrink. Just because we're going to sleeve that just when we join these together and create a bit of a solder there. We don't want that sort of those loose terminals, exposed terminals floating around in there, so we use a bit of heat shrink to cover that. So you have to remember, this is such the thing that gets everybody, even people who are experienced, is you got to cut your heat shrink and put it on before you solder it.
Yeah.
This is like the classic Rocky move.
Yeah.
That
yeah, I can relate to stuff like that.
Oh man, it still gets me. Like it's like making anything. That's quite a big bit. But we'll use that anyway. Now, the thing is to slide it on, just if you've got a good lead like this, I mean, either of these will work well, but since these are spread apart and these are kind of like a joined cable, I'll put both the heat shrinks on the piezo side. Cool, so we got that on there. What I'm going to do is just trim these down a little bit because they don't need that much surface area. So maybe to about there. Put this.
Just to control while you're trying to solder them together later, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. And we just want to make a join in a single spot. Like it doesn't need to be. I mean, that's a lot. Even that, I'll probably bring it to about there, and that'll be. It's just a small area to join. Cool.
So you want me to have to sort of...
So we want to, we're going to have to kind of get them parallel. Let me see if I can...
Rest them parallel on top of each other, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Without moving.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. That'll actually... Is it the right... Yeah, black to black. Yeah, cool. Green, dark green to black. Now, ideally, I'd get my soldering iron flat against that, which I can't do, just given the angle, but we should be okay here. The main thing is that... both of these tin surfaces will touch. When it comes to soldering, the thing you're supposed to do here is sort of heat up, and then kind of apply the solder to the top of it. Is that good? You good on there? Yep, there you go. Yeah, and that's joined in there.
Cool.
A little bit of a extra bit, but that'll hold for this.
That'll
this
hold.
is just, yeah. So this is why it kind of takes. So I kind of went under it then, which will work because these wires are really, really thin. But generally, when you've got the wires or whatever you're soldering onto, you kind of apply the soldering iron to the top of it and then apply the solder to that. So you're heating the surface, heating the media.
It's like a two-stage process.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, I think, tend to put the solder, then apply the heat, and it does work as well. I'm not saying that's entirely wrong, that's just not the way I was taught. And I did get taught from an American video, from like a NASA video or something, so... so I mean, you'd assume they know what they're doing, you'd hope.
NASA certified.
NASA certified here. So, you know, what they sort of said was to heat your heating and then applying, but I mean, I can probably do this from the bottom, it's probably easier, oops, and then you... Oh shit. Okay, the hard thing here is, you gotta, yeah, we really gotta keep it. So, yeah, it doesn't take long to, yeah, that's perfect.
That's a good one.
Yep, yeah, it's a good one. So, like, it cools in like a second, so it's easy to, you just got to keep it steady for that period, long enough for it to cool, and then you can pull everything away. So, and of course we've got enough heat shrink here that will sit over that, and that's really what we can do here. The other thing, which I did not mention before, some sort of heat gun, obviously, to dry the heat shrink, to shrink it up. I'm using a Milwaukee heat gun here. It's just what I have, what I use, and the fact that it's again cordless, I love it. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a blast. This is not the most powerful heat gun. It does take a little minute, but it's portable. Use it to heat your coffee or your hash browns. The other thing we could do, because the stuff's set, we could put a bend in it. Because the stuff sets hard, it'll then, you know, if it's got a little bit of a bend in it, it will stay like there. Being a bit rough with these piezos here, but
We're just going to glue it down.
I think we'll glue it down. You could scrape that off of there. Did we do that last time? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
I think we've done this pretty rough and dirty, guys, but like it's, yeah, we'll see how long these last. You guys can, you know, you could wipe this down with some, you could spend a bit of time heating this up and scraping it off.
There's no reason why you couldn't just put it to the side of it.
That's true. That's true. Do you want to do that, or do you want to put it back where it was?
Doesn't matter. I'm either way. Maybe we do put it off to the side actually.
Test it out.
Yeah.
Mitch can give you an update.
Yeah.
As to whether that's effective or not. If you were pedantic about putting it in the same placement, you could again apply the heat gun to this and maybe use a scraper or a screwdriver to scrape that off. Applying heat to the to sticky stuff actually works quite well. Maybe get a bit of alcohol to rub that off with. Not the stuff you're gonna drink, obviously. Don't want to waste any good liquor on this.
I don't know, pour a couple of diesels on it.
Couple of diesels.
Sounds good to me.
Oops, shit, okay. So that's...
Just spread it around.
Yeah, that's kind of... That's a lot. It's way too much glue, guys. I was going to put a couple of dabs on there, but I'm just going to... It's going to make a mess when it spreads out, but that's alright. Can I give that to you? Cool. Actually, don't know if touching that piezo is a good idea, but... oh, I need a flat screwdriver. Just give it a bit of pressure to while it sets. You really want it to sit evenly, not just get... Crap on it. It was something I paid attention to last time anyway, making sure that it was a good flat placement on there. There's a contact sensor, so imagine if there's any kind of air or something. Just tuck these away under here. We could put some tape on there or something if we wanted to hold that down a bit. They'll get held down by the foam. Cool. And we are on to the other one. So, this will be placed in here. And once again, I'm going to cut some heat shrink.
Now the reason there's two piezos in this drum is because it's a dual trigger drum. A lot of them
Dual
are.
trigger. The doctor is about to operate. Cool. Here we go. Yeah, that'll be fine. You can see, yeah, it's a bit of a finicky thing. It's usually good if you've got a flat surface to push this down on or something, but I mean, there's a little lump there, that'll be fine. If anything, that'll probably help hold the heat shrink in place. If you hold it yeah, closer towards these parts as well, you won't have as much movement. Shit, just come apart. Can you see? Probably not. Sorry. Yeah, I can cut that off actually. Yeah, cool. Sweet. It's a little bit hacked together, guys, but you kind of get the idea. And it will work. So, oh, wait a minute. My side cutters. Oh, I do have. There's one of these little cutters, which will just break off that bit there. Yeah, solid enough. Close enough for jazz, as they say.
Close enough middle.
That's done there. Sweet, now we are ready to glue. This I kind of bring through a little bit. Cool thing is we can now sort of tuck that under there. Kind of fit that under there. Should be enough to hold it there. Can you put the cap on that, please? Should be fine. Less chance of lifting because there wasn't so much glue on it this time. The glue will probably take, what, 24 hours to have a full cure.
Yeah.
But it should be good within like an hour or so. Probably even less.
Well, I think I tested the original one after like 10 minutes.
Yeah, you pretty much went straight into it and it was fine, eh? So
Yeah. Cool.
that is pretty much that. Yeah, like if you've got any loose wires here, you can kind of tuck them away there, or pretty good. Sweet. Hope you've enjoyed. Happy soldering, happy fixing yourself. Now Mitch will probably test this out. We'll see if it works. So it's working.
It's working.
Woo!
And here's the other drum we replaced, which was the floor tom here. Picking up everything.